So talking about Serene Chardonnay, James, the Bin 19A. How do you see that one?
Yeah, the Bin 19A obviously being, a single region Adelaide Hills Chardonnay. I mean, bridging out of that last discussion about the 311, it's sort of interesting hearing what everyone's saying because I don't quite have the same context of having seen the back vintages, all the back vintages that some of the people here have. And for me, I really liked that wine. I found it a little bit lacking in generosity. And there was certainly plenty of that in the Bin 19A. On the nose, that wild ferment character straight up front, lots of that struck match. At the risk of offending Mr. Gago, it really brought to mind a particular beer style for me. I don't know if anyone's really drunk lambics before, but it's a particular style of Belgian farmhouse beer that's like open fermented with naturally occurring yeast and bacteria in oak barrels. And there's a bit of a sort of a farmhouse funk about this wine that I found really enjoyable. There's sort of smoky notes. There's some stone fruit characters that are a bit in the background. But then when it hits the palate, it's very full, much more generously fruited than the Bin 311, which I guess is the warmer vintage coming through. And then I guess there's this really pleasurable sugary lemon meringue and nutty character that I really, really liked. There's sort of some nice lingering acidity. There's a long and persistent finish. The other variable, obviously, apart from the vintage, is there's a bit more new oak in this year's than there was last year, but I wouldn't really have picked that personally. It's drinking really well now, and some people might mark it down for that. I was having a conversation with Angus about this earlier on, but I really like this wine. I gave it 95 points.
Lovely. I mean, I think it's like chalk and cheese, those two wines, though, aren't they? One's embryonic and one's like linear and one's like, bigger and bolder and oakier. And I mean, I think both, I actually had even points for both those wines. I thought both those wines had different characters to them. I actually like.
Outrageous.
What was that?
That's outrageous. Almost.
I know. Penfolds will hate me for it. But I think I found that a bit just because of the hot vintage. It was a bit heavier and a bit creamier, and I really liked it. A massive crowd-pleasing Chardonnay. Like, you show that to any Chardonnay, anyone who likes Chardonnay with a bit of funk, they're going to absolutely adore that wine. Jenny, how did you see it?
I've got 95 points too, and I was only 93 on the 311, so that's the difference there. But
well, these Victorians know what they're talking about.
Yeah. I try. I will say that the one thing I got out of this one, and I've made a note about it, is it has 80% new French oak. It has been slurped up by that.
Yeah.
The oak I found was beautifully balanced in the end. So that was a real feature for me, that this is a big wine. It's more generous. It has a lot going for it. The number of warmer vintages, and this is the Adelaide Hills in particular. And I just thought, wow, 80% new oak. I couldn't believe that. So I agree with all the other comments, but that to me was, the minute I saw that, I thought, okay, they've done such a fabulous job there. And the wine was up for it.
Yeah, and another just great example of like Penfolds, like I think someone's already said, they're doing fantastic Chardonnay.
I'd like to raise a slight dissenting note here, and that I thought the wine was delicious. I thought that the oak was, as Jenny said, amazingly soaked up, and my notes were it sort of had transformed into a kind of old schoolroom, cedary, pencil casey kind of flavour component in the wine. My only problem with it, which kept my pointing at 94, was I found it was a little short. And I was quite surprised by that, given all the elements that go into making that wine. My notes are that it just felt a little short in the finish.
Tony, you do realise that 90% of people watching this have no idea what a pencil case is.
Well, I know, Ken, that you would.
Oh yeah. I had the first two Chardonnays are both at 93, and I thought the Reserve Bin A was a good one, really good Chardonnay, but I didn't think it was Reserve Benet, what we're used to in the past. Because I look at Reserve Benet and I look at Yattarna, the two of them, because I tend to look at those more closely than I do the other one, because they're the two premium ones. And some years I find Reserve Bin can exceed Yattarna, other years not necessarily.
Yeah.
Recent years, Yattarna, I think, has been a bit ahead. I had Yattarna I had 97 or something, way ahead. It's a gorgeous wine. I didn't think that the Reserve Benet, as good as it is, gave what you expect from a Reserve Benet. I mean, Yattarna is that sort of well-structured, perfect, well-behaving school prefect. Benet is always that wild child. It's just, you get that funky feral. And I didn't get anything like what I normally get. I like the wine, and I think it's a good wine, but I don't, if someone put that in front of me and said, what is it, I'd have been stunned to learn it was a Reserve Benet. It wasn't what I was expecting at all. And this year, I thought Yattarna was a mile in front.
Show off.
Can I ask? Sorry, Erin, you go.
I was just about to ask about decanting and whether any of you decant the Chardonnays before you, like, okay, we just open them and try them, but do you end up decanting them because you like them later and see how they go, or is that just
I had them. I mean,
sorry.
I opened at 8 o'clock last night and just had a look at it again now. So and it's been kind of had a couple of sips during the day, so it's half a bottle now. So it's had a bit, not decanting, but it's had some oxygen. Jenny?
I open the way most of us, most consumers open wine. They open it, they drink it. That's how I taste, because that's how most people are approaching their wine. Now, after I've had the first taste, then I can, leave it out or even do some decanting and let some air in or whatever, but I always taste straight out the bottle first.
I had them, I looked at them the night before, this is last week or so, and nothing came out of the fridge. This house is cold enough. So I just looked at them.
For Brisbane.
This house is freezing, seriously.
19, 20, 21.
I'll tell you a story later.
No,
seriously,
I don't. No stories now, please.
I said later. And then I looked at them again 24 hours later before I spoke with Peter, and jotted down whatever I thought changes I'd seen. Most picked up a little bit. The one that picked up the most, I thought, was the Riesling. Others, varying degrees. One or two I thought may have gone into their shell a little bit, but so I looked at them both times, if that helps.
Interestingly, at the tasting at McGill with Peter last week, he now opens the wines up and pours them straight away. Even Grange, they used to double decant and do all sort of palaver with it, and now essentially they open it up, and within probably 20 to 30 minutes they're pouring them. So they choose to do, Jenny, like you do, essentially open them up and drink them straight away.
My question, obviously we want to get onto the reds, but my question to you that are very familiar with the Chardonnays over time is that, have you seen them kind of going the more savoury route as are most Australian Chardonnays I see? I mean, you see all these beautiful, savoury, almost with tannins, very mineral, very kind of, not austere, but definitely away from the bigger, richer styles. And do you see Penfolds Chardonnays going the same way?
With the Bin A, I've seen over the last probably 5 years of releases that Kim Schroeder, the white winemaker, and his team have pared back that struck match sulphide-y kind of element in the wine. I mean, when they first came out with it, it was over the top. Sure. But over the last few years especially, and I know that this is a purposeful thing that they're doing, they are trying to pare that back to allow a little bit more of the fruit generosity to come into that wine. So they have got a specific, sort of design on letting that wine speak a little bit more of the fruit.
Yeah. Right.
I think that they're making, quite rightly, a bit of a song and dance about their fruit sourcing, the quality of their fruit, the age of their vines in many cases, that they are, and always have to a degree, let the fruit sing. And I think it's a mistake to go too far into some of those savoury elements and to play into different trends. I think consumers expect Penfolds to a large degree to be beyond trends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think because Peter's been now, there more than 3 decades, that protects it. And personally, I don't want it going that way. I have certain expectations of Penfolds. I think most consumers do.
Yeah, Penfolds is not trendy. There's no doubt about that.
One little thing about the Yattarna that that was also very clear was that was more this year, and I agree with Ken. It was unbelievably beautiful wine, but this year it was more about the texture of the wine rather than the boldness of the fruit, and that was something that is a leap that they've taken with Yattarna that I just thought has elevated it into something really superior in Chardonnay territory.
Yeah.
Ken, did you see the same thing?
Yeah, I just thought the finesse in that wine and the balance and the precision was just a beautiful, beautiful Australian Chardonnay.
Yeah.